Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, with my darling co-host. We have Phil. How are you today, Phil?
Doing great. How's it going, Chantele?
It's going pretty well. As you're saying, I was telling you before that I'm playing a bunch of online reality games, and so one's coming to an end and one's starting up, and so I'm kind of involved in a lot of different things. But I'm really excited to talk about this episode of The Amazing Race. So I'm pretty good.
Yeah, we're getting down to it now, right? We have 5 teams. We're dropping down to 4 after this episode. Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh! It went by so quickly. It did.
It's sad.
Oh my god! Reality Realness. Well, then welcome. We're so happy to have you. Please join us in the comments. We love talking about The Amazing Race, all reality TV, really, and all the gossip that goes along with it. So as we kind of alluded before, we're going to be talking about The Amazing Race episode. Whoa, what episode was it? 9, 10, 10?
9. I don't know. I know it's leg 10. So, yeah.
9 or 10? Well, all we know, though, at the beginning of this leg, I usually write it down. It's so weird that I didn't. Is the Mine 5 is over. That's all we know about this leg. But do you want to start with the survey from last week to see what's on?
Yeah, so we had a mega survey. So let's go through this. So how happy are you that the first official mega leg took place in India? The average was 3.4. So some were, some weren't. Do we think Gary and D'Angelo have any clue that the other teams are fed up with them? The majority of people said no, which I think probably most people would agree with. Which mega leg test do you think was hardest? This was all over the place, but the one that got the most was the bangles. Looking for the bangles in the was it a wheelbarrow that they were using? Or, yeah. Did you like that Kaylin and Haley were yielded twice? Everybody 100% said no. Now that there's no more yields, do you think it was the smartest move? The majority of people said no. Another team should have been yielded. So that's kind of surprising.
Though, like I understand even more in this episode why they did it, because like, who do they not think is going to be able to retaliate? And so I think I know it sucks kicking someone when they're already down, but when you know that they're going to be out and that they might not overcome it and come back and use their U-turn or whatever the next leg on you, it's kind of like you're just taking your shot at something that you know is more so of a guarantee. So I understood their rationale.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they would and the majority of times they're going to get bunched up that started the next leg, right? So anything can happen. Yeah, if you're pretty sure that a team's going, it probably does make sense at this stage, this season of the race at least. In honor of the currently unappealing Caribbean cruise that they won, what was the best and worst prize? The best prizes we heard were $1 million and the gas for life got the most. And then some good ones for the worst. I forgot about these. One team got a Fitbit for winning.
Really?
And another team got a Kodak Easy Share camera as their winning prize. So,
but like, with like a
compared to a trip.
Life supply of film, a camera for every single person you've ever met in your life, maybe.
That's right. It's like at Kodak. I don't know. I don't know. It's a little bit of a different world for Kodak, I think, these days. Which of the Alliance of 5 will be the first to go home? The majority of people said Aparna and Eswar, which good for them. That's a good pick. And then when the U-turn returns, which team would be at the top of your U-turn list? Surprising. Riley and Madison got the most votes.
Well,
I guess they're strong.
They're the strongest, so they'd probably be the most competition in the end. They're pretty consistent. You know what I mean? So Dolores is in the house. Hi, Dolores.
Hey.
Dolores was in The Bachelorette a couple hours ago. So thanks for joining us here. She also says, I think 10, you're both correct. Let me go confirm. And says that CBS All Access has it as episode 10. Getting down to the nitty gritty. That actually reminds me, you don't watch the challenge, but there's a character or a person, but he's a character on my shows, named Nelson, who didn't know what that phrase was. So he calls it the nitty gritty. He's like, yeah, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. And we're like, like, they just leave that in for him to look like not too bright. And Dolores is shocked by the Fitbit. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, I would like something better for winning the leg than a Fitbit. Even though I guess they were in the beginning, like $300, but like a Fitbit is not a prize. That's like an additional prize. You know?
Yeah. Maybe sometimes those when they give out prizes and you're actually from that hometown, that kind of sucks as well. So
true. Just like, oh, I'm just there.
A trip to Chicago. I'm from Chicago. Okay.
So the Mind 5 is over is the title of this episode. Basically, I know it's the getting down to nitty gritty, but that's kind of the first voiceover that we heard was that. So we have Riley and Madison leaving at 3:25 p.m. and they're going to be flying to Cambodia, where they're going to meet up with the Travelocity gnome.
He's back.
It's very, to me, I feel like in the beginning seasons, you'll probably have the answer to this, but in the beginning seasons, didn't they have the gnome for longer or like the whole race? Like I feel like lately it's just been kind of at the end of the race, but I felt like in the past it'd been involved a lot longer. Am I just misremembering?
Yeah, I'm trying to now. This is bad. I'm not 100% sure of when I remember the gnome being in season 12 because they had to like find him in a yard and there was holes in the ground in like Amsterdam or something, and then they carried that around. I don't remember if he was around before that. He might have been, but. Sometimes they use them for like the whole leg. Sometimes like I remember one where like there was a picture on the bottom, and if they got that, they won a grand prize and all that. But I don't know. It's nice. I guess it's travel themed. That's good. It's back.
And Doris also says, yes, in the past he appeared throughout the whole series. Yes. Okay. So I wasn't because like there was a lot of tasks that had to do with them and find the gnome and this gnome and keep your gnome, bring your gnome and make sure you have your gnome. And I just remember feeling as though more of the race had the gnome be something that they had to carry around.
They had to do something with the gnome. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like him though. He's so cute. Little Nomi. So we find out also that they're all going to be on the same flight, which we're talking about many times this season, that I think that it sucks if like Riley and Madison have this big lead and then they're going to be equalized again.
Yeah.
But we've also talked about the pros and cons of them doing this now, so fine. But there's most likely Sorry, what?
I did notice something at the beginning with the times, because you're really good at keeping track of the times. I never look at that, but I noticed that Hamanchi and Aparna and Eswar, they last leg when we saw them run to the mat, they were running against each other to the mat, but they left half an hour apart. So something happened.
Well, I mean, editing. Let's make it look like it's close, but it was not close at all.
So.
Well, basically the times were, so Will and James were leaving at 3:42, so about 17 minutes after 22 minutes. I don't know. Actually, I can't read time right now. I'm confusing myself. 3:42, 3:58 was Gary and D'Angelo. And he also says that the Mind 5 is dissolved. So maybe it's just because they had a common knowledge once you got to that final five, like all bets are off, we're all in it for ourselves. And so maybe that's why it's the running theme. Why D'Angelo is even saying this. Yes. But Hagenchi, you're right, leaves at 4:26, and then Eshwar and Aparna leave at 4:52. They talk about how they haven't won a leg yet, which I thought was interesting. So I was like, either they're winning this leg or they're going home this leg. Yeah. It's going to be one or the other for them to have left that in the editing.
Yeah, well, they would really need to turn up the heat if they're going to win a leg because they've been very quiet.
Very. And at the back of the five anyways. Yeah. I loved hearing Hung and Chi talking about how they watched The Amazing Race with their family and that they love like the gnome. And so I thought that was a cute moment because their kids are probably going to be really excited to see them on the leg, especially on the leg with the gnome. You know, it's a family event that they have watching this show. So Aparna and Eshwar said that they would U-turn anyone, which I also thought was foreshadowing to a certain extent because they're willing to U-turn anybody.
Put anybody.
So,
yeah, it was very clear they were not part of that three. They had no idea what was going on just as much as Gary and D'Angelo had no idea what was going on. So. Mm-hmm.
So when they get to Cambodia, they have to find a marked tuk-tuk, and there's going to be a gnome basket there. And then they're going to have to help a local driver assemble their tuk-tuk and ride to the pier. So it seemed as though Riley and Madison and Will and James didn't seem to have trouble finding the tuk-tuk. But Aparna and Eshwar and Gary and D'Angelo seemed to run in the wrong direction. Could you tell how it went, like how they veered in different ways or what happened?
Yeah. Well, so it actually did look like D'Angelo and Gary and Aparna and Eshwar got there first and that they ran past it. So I think it might have been because the driver wasn't at those ones. Maybe they thought those ones were abandoned, or the person wasn't working. They were looking for probably the driver as well.
Right.
So I think that was the problem. They ran by, and it looked like they did a big block, which I'm from past Amazing Races. A big block in Cambodia is a lot different than a big block in a regular city over here in North America. It's a lot of stuff can be happening on that block. So,
oh my gosh, yes. So when they were running in the wrong way, and like it seemed like the other two teams were able to find it quite easily, I was like, "Ooh, this is bad," especially for Aparna, because it seemed also that Gary and D'Angelo noticed it. Maybe it was on their loop around or whatnot, but they found it before Ishwara and Aparna, and they didn't even notice them like when they dipped off. So it was going to take a little bit longer for them to find where this tuk-tuk was. So they had to travel to a floating Buddhist temple and give this basket as an offering to two Buddhist monks. I thought the cutest moment, though, on the way to the floating Buddhist temple was how the gnomes had a life jacket on. It was
You're so cute.
And it wasn't even just like I thought it was just Raleigh and Madison, but then like even later I saw Hung and Cheese like had the life jacket. I thought it was the most adorable thing I've seen in a really long time.
That's good product placement. It was good.
Of the gnome or of the life jacket?
Well, yeah, of the gnome.
It was so cute. So poor Riley and Madison, though, on the way to the floating temple, their boat, I don't know if the engine got flooded or what happened, but the engine stopped working. So two teams, they were in the lead, and then it looks like Hung and Chi got to the floating temple first, and then Will and James after, and it seems as though each team can only go one at a time to give the offering. So that really sucked. But it didn't. I thought that Gary and D'Angelo had caught up and we were going to pass them, but they were further enough behind. I heard that Will and James say like Gary and D'Angelo have caught up. So I don't know how close they were when they saw them, but not close enough to at least overtake Riley and Madison.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I don't think that they were far behind because it did seem like Gary and D'Angelo were there. Hum and Cheese driver, wow, like they must have, because they got on their boat like third and then they got to the place first. They must have been speeding like crazy. So that's good.
Maybe they're really light. I don't know.
Maybe.
Dolores getting out some reality terminology here. Floaters, grab your life vest. Yes.
Love it.
Grab your life vest. Aparna and Ishwar. Okay. So Riley and Madison did practice how to enter the temple. Do you think that was something that they investigated beforehand, or do you think that was part of the instruction that they didn't share with us?
They did say it was in the clue that they had to do it the proper way.
Oh, okay. So
they didn't read it out, but they did say that it was in the clue that they had to do it the proper way. But I don't know if they really had to do it the proper way because, like, I don't know. Not everybody did it the same way, so I don't think that they were like holding them to it.
Super strict. Yeah. I also found them like, how did they get these like monks to do this? You know, like it just doesn't seem in their, you know.
They do that all the time on the race for some reason. I'm like, yeah, how do they get them to do this? They want to be on TV.
It's so strange. I mean, I guess that there must have been some sort of offering financially to maybe the community or whatnot, and so that was the trade. But I just didn't think of them wanting to do that. So everybody passed them, but they end up getting their third. And Hung and Chi get to know what the next detour is going to be. So it is fish or farm. Which one would
what were your thoughts?
Doing?
Yeah. I probably would have. I have more experience with fish, so I probably would have picked fish, but I don't think I would have struggled necessarily this time on either of these ones. I'm actually going to give myself some credit for a change. I might have been good at both of these ones.
I mean, I don't know what the difficulty level of the farm one was, other than manual labor.
Yeah.
Right? It was just like matching what it was obvious what
just
to do.
Putting them in order. It seemed like it.
Yes, but it took a lot longer, which I was surprised. I thought that they were choosing the faster task. But basically what I had to do in fish is they had to pull this net that's over a half a mile long, and the net was picking up small little fish, and so they had to weigh out 30 pounds of these fish. And so that was what the task was for fish. And then for farm, they had to plant and replicate a floating garden. And so both seemingly very easy to understand tasks. I probably would have chosen farm because it just seems like it would be less labor intensive. But it seems like farm, like with carrying all that soil, was more challenging than I was giving it credit. So Hung and Chi choose fish, but the driver actually took them to farm. So you do it where you are, and so
that's right.
They should have maybe like changed the driver at that point, being like, "Hey, driver, can you take us to the other one, please?" Because we learned that it wasn't the faster task,
right?
But I get their reasoning for staying there. So both the Hung's parents are into gardening, so she really, really knows her plant. She's like, oh, this is lemongrass, this is da-da-da. I don't think I could identify all the plants. Could you?
No, definitely not. No. I could tell what they look like. I could not tell you what they were. And yeah, I don't even think that they had signs of what each thing was. So
no, me neither.
She's pretty good.
Yeah, I was impressed by her knowledge. I mean, she could have also been wrong, and I have no idea either.
That's true too. There was no bell noise like ding. You're right.
Or like the like Dodo music. So we don't know if she was right or wrong. We'll assume she was right, or they would have probably called her out. Will and James, they go to farm as well. The Beard brothers, they go to fish, as well as Gary and D'Angelo and Aparna and Ishwar. So everybody kind of eventually caught up at this detour. The Beard brothers, though, they ended up finishing first. They didn't seem to have that much trouble. Like it's just longer than everybody thought, the length of the net. But nobody seemed to have any difficulty. They got enough fish seemingly in a very fast, timely manner. And the Beard Bros were out pretty quickly, and they are heading over to that double U-turn board, especially because there's no more non-eliminations left in the game. I thought that was also very, surprising. I thought there might be one more, sometimes they do one like the next leg and then they do the final four again. Or you know what I mean? Sometimes they do another one round now. So I'm surprised that he said that there's no more. That's scary.
Yeah, and the fact that they know it is scary. So, they do know it, right? They do know it. They know that there's no more Donna Lemons, right?
No, yeah, I think that I might have said in the clue
yeah.
No, because like they were told that by production, but Phil said it, like he made a statement about it when he was talking about the double U-turn, I believe. So the Beard brothers and D'Angelo and Gary, they basically get to the U-turn board at around the same time. And I guess the Beard brothers allowed Gary and D'Angelo to put it up first. So I'm wondering if they did that because, well, we knew that the Beard brothers wanted to U-turn Gary and D'Angelo, but you can't really U-turn someone that was right there because they would just go around and just like turn and do it on somebody else. Like they could have done it on Hung and Chi, they could have done it on Will and James. So they let Gary and D'Angelo do it on Aparna and Ishwar because they saw them anyways. And then they burned the vote. So what did you think about the brothers burning the vote, the double U-turn vote?
Yeah. So, I mean, I get this alliance thing and this alliance of three and getting there and everything. I'm going to say this is my call. If they win, it was a great decision. if they lose to Hum and Chi or Will and James, then they had an opportunity to knock them out. And they're there because they're there for their partner. They're not there for these other two teams, as nice as they are. And I don't know. Like, it's only been, it's less than a month. I don't know. Like, you're like this bond that you hardly see these people because you're racing around. I guess maybe at the pit stops you get to know them very well. But actually, I don't even know if that's true because sometimes they get locked into a room. So I don't know. But I don't know. I just think at this point, you're now at that stage where this is the final U-turn, you're racing to the thing. It's time to play for you and your partner and not for the other people. So I would have said, put somebody else behind you. Then you've got two teams that are in the back who have to do two detours. And that means you guys won't get eliminated.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. I guess they also probably want to keep their word in the eyes of the viewer as well. And so it's part of their own personal integrity. I think that what was challenging them at that point, they probably made a pact and agreement like, hey, if we get there before, this is who we're going to U-turn. No, we're not going to U-turn one of us. And so I think that they might have felt a little bit smarmy to do that.
Yeah.
And that game sometimes is rewarded for sure, but I just think that they would feel icky about it. And I think that they just want to avoid being super cutthroat with people that they've been working with this whole time. It just isn't a good look, I don't think. And I don't think that they want to have that kind of like negative karma in this game. If they U-turned one of them, they wouldn't have they would still do well. They would have come, they would have overtaken, and you know what I mean? They might have gone out, whatever. They just would have probably gotten bad karma.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yep.
I think so. So, I mean, I get what you're saying too, but I understand why there was a little bit more of a moral dilemma there before the guys.
Yeah.
So
for Gary and D'Angelo, though, I will say, I kind of screamed at my TV a little bit because for them, and not even just because we know what this Alliance of Three is, for them to make the decision of who to U-turn, basing it off of all these legs of the race and how bad Aparna and Eswar have been doing. Like, I mean, they are not a threat to them in this game. They are so slow on tasks. I don't understand. So, because they seem like very smart, but they seem to take their time on these tasks. Why would you do Will and James, who have been winning so much, or Hum and Chi, who have been winning so much? Like, these are people that are your competitors. So for them, I don't get it.
So Dolores says, I would U-turn the team I consider to be the strongest, since this may be my only chance to do that. I agree. But now, just kind of to echo what I said at the beginning, is that I think that they were scared that they are good enough to be able to come back with a vengeance. complete the second pass and be able to catch up and overtake and then have bad blood. And so I think that, again, it's the easy out. They knew where Aparna and Ishwar were. They didn't necessarily know how close, the other two were, and that they could go and do that. They just didn't know how fast and how timing things would be. And I would rather Aparna and Ishwar go home, and I know that for sure, than to try and make a power play here, to go for Hug and Chi or Will and James, have Will and James complete it and still manage to overtake us, and then have bad blood for the next round where they might be vindictive and be a little more cutthroat. So I totally hear what you're saying. Same with you, Dolores. I get it. Take out the strongest team. But if you can't guarantee that they're going to go home, then I can understand why hedging your bets and you deciding to go with a sure thing.
Yep, definitely.
That's what I'm thinking here. But I totally get Aparna was super upset about it being it's so dumb of you to do that. But I understood that they were more of a sure thing.
Right.
You want your shot to hit. We saw what happened with Will and James when they went for Leo and Alana a few episodes ago, and they didn't go out, and it created a little bit of bad blood between them. You know what I mean? So
I'm totally not probably moral wise in playing games the same as Riley and Madison are. I mean, they're volleyball players. They know sportsmanship and all of that fun stuff. So all that fun stuff that I ignore in games. So they probably would be more likely to build those bonds and people be like, no, I want to go against the best in the end. Whereas I look at it and go, I want to go against the people that I can beat.
Yeah. Okay. So out of the two of those teams, who would you have decided to U-turn?
At that point, I probably would have done Hum and Chi. They seem to be who I love. I mean, that's who I want to see win. But I would probably do them because they seem to be at the last 2 or 3 legs. They seem to be more struggling, where Will and James don't really seem to be struggling right now. They were struggling at the beginning of the race, but they're doing quite well right now. So probably Hum and Chi.
I'm going to agree with that because it would be less of a likely of a chance for them to succeed in completing both paths before we did. So I support that decision. So I thought the Hung and Cheese Garden looked better than the example. I was like, oh, that was so nice. It was so nice. If you take a shot, you might as well make sure that you don't miss. Exactly. So I think that's where Gary and D'Angelo were going, is I want them out. So let me make sure that they get out. So we got to the roadblock. Who thinks that they can fit the mold? Would this be me or you that did this?
Who thinks they can fit the mold without seeing what it was? Who thinks they can fit the mold? You definitely fit in with people a lot better than I do, in my opinion. So I think you would fit the mold.
I would fit the mold.
You're bubbly. You've got that personality. People like you, so I think you would fit the mold. People would be like, "Oh, I want to be like her." People don't go like that with me.
Well,
they go, "Who's that guy?"
Also, with how they spelled mold, so it would.
That's true.
Thinking it's going to be some sort of pottery type thing. I do have experience in that kind of stuff. In visual arts class, we had lithograph, all these different types of etching and screen pressing. And so I've done many different types of printing, we'll say. And so I've never done anything like this, but let me tell you, I would watch the entire demonstration from beginning to end before I knew what I was doing and decide to work on it. Because you can't just see where they're at and be like, okay, I know what they did in the beginning. You'd have to say and watch the full thing. I was very surprised that people just looked and assumed that they knew what they were doing, not seeing the entire demonstration. And especially after they got the first 1 or 2 wrong or it wasn't working, I'd be like, okay, something's not right here. I must have missed something in the beginning. Let me go watch the whole thing all over again. So I was very surprised that it took people many tries to realize that they didn't see the whole demonstration.
Yeah.
It's
another one of those read the clue things, which instead of reading the clue, it's go watch the example. I was shocked. Especially some of the teams were there for a number of them, and some of them were like really surprising teams that I was like, why aren't they doing this? They should get this right away.
Absolutely. So what they had to do was watch the demo. The guy put some sort of wax or some sort of substance that on the, I don't even know the terminology, on like the tile, and then they put the stencil thing over top, and then they poured in paints, and then they put it in some sort of press, and then they're supposed to separate it from the press, something like that. And so it was a particular tile. After they got that tile off and intact, they would get a check mark on the screen, and then they had to put it in they get a key, they open the chest, they take out other pieces to a slide puzzle and complete the slide puzzle. And lucky for you, Phil, I'm excellent at slide puzzles. So,
ooh, all right, good.
Even at that live reality game of Survivor that I played, I was in like a battle back gauntlet from Extinction Alley kind of thing. And in order, the third part of it, I had to do a slide puzzle. And I was super fast, and the girl wasn't even close.
Rockstar.
Not even close.
Who was that? Do you want to give a shout out to her? Hi.
I don't even remember. Her name is Lena. Her name is Lena.
Hi, Lena. Chantel's not holding on to this.
So I would say I've been stumped a couple times with slide puzzles, like when you can't get the last one if it's inverted. But I'm always like, is it just a faulty beginning? Because you actually have to start at the end and then mix it up. Otherwise, you could have a slide puzzle that gets stuck. You know what I mean? Like it's possible to not be able to solve them. So, but yeah, I really like them. I do practice them often, and I just try to practice them to be fast at them because I know I love all these reality games. And if I were ever on the real thing and I lost in a slide puzzle, I'd be so upset. So it's something that I practice on the regular. Do you?
Slide puzzles are not as often. I'm okay at them. I'm not a rock star like you, but I'm okay at them. But yeah, no, I think I would be okay at that part. Putting the thing together, I think, I would watch the thing. I mean, we say that obviously the race is go, 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 but by this point you would think like, okay, because some of these teams have made this mistake before, like, follow the instructions.
Like, I was even worried when they got to the tuk-tuk at the beginning of the leg that Hung and Chi didn't take the basket. Like, I was like, where's the basket? Where's the basket? Yeah. Like, I'm so worried for them not taking the basket because I didn't see it all the time. Or like on the boat, I'm like, do they have the, like, even I'm panicking like to like a mom that's like watching her kid on stage. Like, these kids like doing correctly. And Dolores says to you, Phil, that you are on target. It seems to be a pattern that they don't recall the clues. They don't pay attention. It's like the adrenaline is getting to them. Yes, it is. Yeah. Puzzle phenomena queen. Yes. I can't remember what I was doing, but I have won a slide puzzle recently. What was I playing? Oh, I might have been playing like like a one night org, and I think there was a slide puzzle on it. Finished it fast though. Nice. I think I won. I can't remember, but like I'm usually pretty good at it, especially if it's numbered. Even better. Like if it's numbered, I can be really fast. Oh, it was in this one. Sorry, it's in this Survivor that I was playing. It was a slide puzzle, but it was actually quite hard because you couldn't. There was no numbers, but all the tiles kind of looked the same. It was all like different lock pieces, and so you had to kind of. Like, it had a ghost image, which is what you had to kind of look at, but you had to like move it super quick. And so I did well still, but it was more challenging than when you have the numbers, or if you have like a very obvious pattern, like the Survivor logo or something, like definitely easy. But yes, I love puzzles, and I've loved slide puzzles since. Did you ever have loot bags when you were younger? And in the loot bags, you get like the little puzzle.
With a little round plastic piece that you have to pull out, and then it works.
Or whatever. So I've been liking slide puzzles since those days.
Oh wow!
So
very nice.
5 years ago,
Yeah. Hard, just a couple years ago, right?
Do they even have loot bag stuff anymore? Like what's going on with kids these days?
Well, this year I don't know. This year they're not having parties. But I don't know.
I love loot bags.
Oh yeah.
Money cakes. Give them to me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
If I ever get married, or when I get married, I'm taking applications. So if I ever get married, I want to have like a money cake. Like, wouldn't you want to have a piece of cake and you know you're gonna win like, I don't know, $20 bill rolled up in some paper? Come on.
That's amazing. There should be the amount of money for your birthday in the cake.
Is that what the rule is?
Well, that's what I'm going to make the rule. That's starting now.
Well, my birthday's in January, so we'll do it for me first. I love money cakes, though. It was always so fun to me. Like, I used to make them, and like people are always so excited to get money from them. I'll have another piece. So yes, D'Angelo didn't watch the full demo, as we know. And she gets there, Hung and she gets there, and she is going to do this task. And Will also is choosing to do this task between him and James, because he likes arts and crafts. So, Will immediately goes and watches the demo. And I was wondering, I'm like, okay, him watching the demo, is he going to like tip off to the other people that haven't watched the demo? But Gary didn't seem to get tipped off. D'Angelo didn't seem to get tipped off. And Gary was getting increasingly more frustrated. And I can understand, like, because you can't help your partner and you can see glaringly what they're doing wrong. And you just have to watch them potentially tank your game. How would you feel if I was doing that and I didn't watch the demo?
I'm a type of person that wears my emotions on my face. So if I'm getting frustrated, you would be seeing a lot of eye rolls, a lot of things like that going, a lot of come on sort of things. I'd be trying to help.
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh. It was so painful. And I could imagine for Gary that he must have been like,
oh yeah,
my partner sucks, because especially because Gary is more attention to details. And so it would have been something that he would have been like, I don't think that D'Angelo would have been able to do that picture to find the person task like as fast as Gary did, like the paintings.
Right.
I just don't think that he would have had the patience and the detail orientedness to be able to do well in that challenge. And so it may have been something that Gary would have been more successful at, I feel.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So Riley actually does get it after his 6th attempt and Will after his 4th attempt. So watching the clue, we see that it actually helps really well. We get introduced to the route info, and it's going to be a race to the pit stop after this task. Like, it seems like it was a pretty quick leg to me. I loved how Hung was so supportive to Chi, even though he wasn't getting it, because Gary was being pretty negative Nancy. Yeah. And she was still being like, don't worry, I know he'll get it. I know you get it. And like, I kind of got a little bit choked up of her, like, just, she's so proud of him and she knows that she can count on him in that moment. And like, she wasn't going to put in any negative energy towards him not figuring it out right away. She believes in him enough to know that he will figure it out. And like, it made me tearing up now. Like, it made me tear up. It's sweet.
It's been great watching them through this whole thing. Like, they are what they present themselves as. And I think they're probably amazing parents. Like, I think their kids are probably very lucky to have them as parents. And it was nice to see that love. Definitely, I have to say, it's nice to see that love on a reality show right now from a couple that's not from a couple that's people of color, and showing them in a positive light that and it's not about anything else but just their love, which is nice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's that's good.
Being a really great representation of a couple and parenting and seeing them maneuver this race. So it's a really
and not that they're just a great couple because of people of color. They're a great couple out of anybody. Like, they are a great couple. Like,
and especially because that it's definitely welcome to see 100%. So while Hung is being super supportive, we have Gary wanting to lay down because he's so exasperated. I mean, I would, if I was D'Angelo and I saw my partner doing that, I would be like, oh, he must be seeing something that I'm not seeing. Let me go back and look at this. I just don't know why people were trying it so many times over and over again without realizing that after the third try, I'd be like, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, without changing something up. Like, even if they were doing something wrong, different, like, they just kept seeming to do the same thing over and over with no change.
Exactly. I was surprised by people maybe just thinking like I just have to do it perfectly, but not that I was doing something wrong. I would immediately, if it didn't work the way that it seemed to work for that guy, the first try, I'd be like, okay, no, hold on, let me watch this again because I must be missing something. Like, why didn't it come off easily? Exactly what I saw him do. So, I mean, I'm just saying this because I'm on my couch and I'd be like, look, read your clue, watch the demo. But I don't know if I'll do that in real life, but I'll pretend like I would for sure. So yeah, I wrote down watching the full demo is like reading the clue. Like it's the common theme this season. But Riley and Madison, they get to the mat first. Like they did the slide puzzle seemingly very quickly. They are number one. They win a trip to Norway, which is great. I did not to Cambodia.
I want to go to Norway.
I want to go everywhere, especially since we haven't been to go anywhere for like the last 9 months. Like I want to go everywhere. Let me out. Let me out. I want to go. I do. And Will and James, who had gotten there after Gary and D'Angelo and Riley and Madison, they got to the mat second. And James I thought he was sweet in this moment at the mat because he's been dying to go to Cambodia. And so the fact that he gets to go and experience that with Will. And it seems like they're getting there pretty quickly. So maybe they'll have an extra couple hours exploring if they can, or at least taking in some of like the scenery. So it's nice that they get to have that experience together, in my opinion. And then Aparna and Ishwar come to the roadblock, and she is not happy. What are you cheering at? What are you cheering for, Phil?
I was happy to see something from them, like some sort of emotion that was like, okay, good. Like they're showing something. Like they didn't just go in and be like, oh, it's okay, we understand. Like I'm glad that they were like swore at them.
Yeah, of course. I'd be pissed. So pissed. Well, like, how would you react? I'd be mad.
I think, if that had happened and it was like a complete, like we're setting you up to be the one to go, because it was obvious that both those teams had done that to them. So the fact that had happened, I think they would completely in the right to say that. The bridge is burned, so it's done.
I definitely
all's forgiven when the race is done. So.
When the race is over, yes. I would have been upset, but then I'm also thinking like I don't think that would have happened because I would be in the front, right, Phil? Yes.
The whole leg.
We'd be in the front. We're gonna win this race. Hey, put us on it so we can see if we can do it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we're going to have to put our application in here.
Do you know if there's an application out yet?
I don't know. For the Canadian one, I'm not sure.
Because it usually ends up, all the timing's all off, but usually they want it by around now, actually. But I haven't heard any announcements or anything like that.
I think they're probably going to have to wait. So
I mean, like, we kind of have to do it. I know that you would want to do it with your partner, but like...
I'm okay with getting on the show. However, I have to get on the show.
So good. I think we'd be a really good team. We'll either be really good friends after or not friends at all.
Yeah.
So she and Ishwar decide to watch the full demo, and she finally gets it, which is like, duh, but great. I'm happy that she got it. I'm happy that Hung, had her faith in her man, and he came through. And D'Angelo finally saw the greasing stage of this demonstration. So on his 12th try, he manages to get it. So we just see Hung and Chi next at the mat. They are third place. And they're trying to make it as though there was some drama here, that War finished it quite quickly after Gary or D'Angelo. But I think it was they had a little bit of time. I don't think that there was any sort of drama with who was going to be getting to the mat first. Do you think so?
No, I think if they were really that close, we would have seen them really, like, there would have been an outside screen of them on the puzzles together and their cars closer. Yeah, they weren't right by each other. Were you surprised that neither of the other two teams in the Alliance of Three told Chi what the problem was, what he was doing, and didn't help him? At that point, like, they could have told him what he was doing wrong with the tile.
Well, maybe they didn't even realize that they didn't see that part.
That's true.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Dolores asks, but the question is, if you both went on with different partners, would you join an alliance together?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Of course.
If we don't win, I'm happy that you win, Chantele. I'm all right. I will say that right here. I am fine with that.
Exactly. I think
as long as we can come back on the show, all of us, and we'll all talk about it.
I don't really have a partner that I can do it with right now. Maybe JoJo.
Oh. Yeah, and you take me to Norway.
Sure, man. Like, Norway, here we go. Me and you. Amazing Race podcast from Norway. I feel as though alliances are good. Like, just having people that you can trust, that you can bounce ideas off of sometimes. Any extra information like those maps and stuff like that. Like, just little things that you might not have thought of that could be helpful in your game. I think that is useful when you're with an alliance. But sometimes alliances are detrimental because then you rely on the other person. So I think that they're helpful, but I would probably, be like, okay, well, I'm not going to follow you, but like, let's just share information. It would more so be, I think, how it might work.
I actually think that this season may change the race quite a bit, because this is really the first season where so many teams were in an alliance and it worked. Like, so people may look at that and go, wait a minute, maybe alliances do make sense on the race. Like, but you have to be able to trust all those teams. And you're not going to see them all the time. It's not like Survivor where you're on camp and you're with them all the time. Like, people are different places doing their own thing. Like, I don't know. It's tough.
It is tough. But I do agree with you that I think the race is going to change. And I don't know if they're going to do something to stop it or not, because I don't mind it. But it did make for a boring leg that one time when you knew who was going to be eliminated. You know what I mean? So, like, it didn't, like, it's only got interesting again because, now the final five is just dissolved. And so how they're going to have the infighting and who's going to be against who. So yes, I'm for them, but I hate it when it takes away from the suspense of watching the television show.
Yeah.
The only thing else that I wrote down was I felt so bad, though, for Gary and D'Angelo in the car when the tree was coming down in front of them when they're trying to get to the pit stop. That wouldn't have been good for me. I would have been really frustrated in that moment. I'd be like, I'm not really great in taxi situations or Ubers when I'm in a hurry and there's something that is obstructing us from getting from point A to point B. I just get very anxious. And I don't think I would be able to handle that very well. I would have been like, I can't look. Like, I wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, and they did know that, like, I mean, as much as we're saying, like, they weren't so close as it seemed, I do think, though, they did see them there at the roadblock. So they must have been like, oh my God, that other team's going to beat us. This is it. We're in trouble. We know this is an elimination. We got to go. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess they're just trying to get drama, but it probably didn't matter at all.
Oh, it was stressful. Yeah.
It was yes, it was stressful for them. I would be not happy with that situation. Like, move it. That's all I wrote about this episode, and the next episode looks pretty wild. I don't remember exactly what is going to be happening, but it looks like the wheels are falling off that bus for sure. Like everybody's making mistakes and go back, turn around, and I'm like, it's a lot.
Yeah, we got some tears coming up. We saw some people crying a little bit in it as well. Wasn't James crying a little bit? He was getting, or he was getting really like flustered at least. Like, it's gonna be good.
Doing like the flag challenge or whatever, like putting things in order or something. They should know better though. They better taking good notes. You're gonna have to put the flag or the flower or what the headpiece was that the person was wearing. That's right. The guy doing the back tuck with the soccer ball. Like there's always a challenge like that. Like always.
Always.
And you know what? I played a backyard Big Brother, and they had one of those for one of the final. I think it was the final. Anyway, it was one of the later competitions, and it actually is hard though when they have like an item that represents a leg, and so it is a little bit challenging trying to figure out. Okay, the basketball was for this, and the feather was for that, and so I can see if it's something in that realm of making a puzzle make sense. It can be a little bit challenging as opposed to, I think flags would be easier, flowers would be easier, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure what they had to do.
Yeah. Random things like throughout the race sometimes would be very difficult. Like, you don't necessarily see every statue beside the clue box when you're in last and racing to the clue box. Like you might not see that statue. So.
Excited for next week, though. I mean, I think that it's a worthy final four. Gary D'Angelo could creep in there and take a final three position if Gary does the task.
Yeah. So what do you think? What are you feeling for each team? Like who's going to make the final three?
Very strongly about Riley and Madison. Any of their blunders have been very, very minute. I worry for Will and James because Will seems to be more level-headed, but he also seems to be a little bit more stubborn. And so I can see him making a mistake and not fixing it. You know what I mean? Or something like that. And James isn't, I think Will is a stronger competitor in this race so far than James is. And so I can see them maybe not getting to the end by both of them making some mistakes, Okay. Hung and Chi, I think, have a very good shot in being there because even as I said with Riley and Madison, their mistakes aren't usually that bad. I think that they finished really badly once, was it? Like they finished in like fifth, like last leg?
Yeah, which really is, it's not really that bad. Yeah, but yeah.
So I feel like they have a pretty good chance. And Gary and D'Angelo, maybe not. So Will and James, Gary and D'Angelo are the two teams that I think are fighting for the third spot.
Okay.
Disagree?
Well, so I know. That's good for me a little bit better than what I was thinking. So I think that Will and James are going to definitely make the finals. I think right now they're on an upward climb again. So I think that they're doing really well. Riley and Madison, I think, are in, and so both of your teams, I think, are in the final three because I think, they've been dominating the last couple of legs. I'm worried for Hum and Chi. I think that they need that last little oomph behind them. They seem to be getting a little tired, so I hope that they can push ahead. If they can, they could turn this whole thing around, which would be great. And not that they're struggling, it's just they seem to be, of those three teams, they seem to be sort of on the bottom right now, and I would like to see them get higher. I think Gary and D'Angelo, as much as I love them, and I'd actually like to see them get to the final three, not just because they're on my team, but I think they've been good. I feel like they've just been getting this edit that seems to be, I just keep going, that reminds me of like all these other Final Four teams that gets that like the audience favorite, like audience will like them because they're goofy, but they're not really going to win. Like, so yeah, I don't know.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I can see
it's a great Final Four.
Yeah, it definitely is. I could see any of them really making a blunder and the other teams just, moving past them. Less likely, as I'm saying, for Riley and Madison. And in your case, you're saying less likely for Will and James. But I can see Will and James making a big mistake. You know what I mean? And I can just see that happening and getting flustered and frazzled with it. So, especially because they know that the stakes are so high right now that, like, I'm wondering if they'll be able to deal with the pressure and the stress of, like, oh my God, we're almost in the finale. Like, we have to do well. So that's kind of why I'm saying, like, ooh, I can see them not being able to handle that pressure and just making too many little mistakes that keep them out of the top 3 contention. But then, I don't know, Gary and D'Angelo, it really depends. So it's anybody's game at this point. I know that's kind of like a boring answer, but I can see any of them really not making it, but there's obviously more likely and least likely too.
So it's interesting that for our draft picks that we did at the very beginning, we have got down to 2-2. We've got 2 each, and I think both of us did pretty well on our picks. We sort of went back and forth on them.
I mean, I will say that I did a little bit better considering that my number 1 pick is still in the number 1 position. I don't know.
Spot right now.
I feel that was pretty good insight, picking those beard bros first, All
right, well, we'll see. Yes, that's true. Who was your first team that you picked? Riley Madison?
Yeah, Riley Madison.
Yeah. So I just lost my first team that I picked.
Well, we knew from a long time ago that they were not going to be winning the game.
No. I love their cast assessment at the beginning. Like, I thought, I was like, oh, they've got great energy, but they seem to really be slow during the race.
Mm-hmm. They just never kicked into gear.
Yeah.
I wonder if I have the list on this one. I don't think I do. I wanted to see the order of but I think it's in another notebook. Oh well. So do you have the?
Oh, I do. The new survey. So we've got some questions. So you'll put the link up, and I know we've got people that can let us know. Our viewers, just feel free to respond.
It should already be in the info or the.
Oh, perfect.
It's in there.
Perfect. So so our viewers, feel free this week, respond, and we'll talk about what you guys said next week. Which leg 10 task do you think was hardest? There actually wasn't too many tasks here. There was the detour, which was the fish and farm, and there was the roadblock.
Which was the farm was the hardest.
The farm? Okay. Yeah, I think I maybe the roadblock. I don't really think that this leg was necessarily when it came to the task was too hard of a leg compared to some of the other legs we've had. Do you think Gary and D'Angelo U-turning Eswar and Aparna instead of any of the other teams was the smartest move? Or should a bigger move have been made?
Well, I kind of talked about it before. I totally see going for the stronger player, especially where you are in this game. I just can understand, though, not being able to get a strong team out this late in the game, not having them, okay, if they say they went for Will and James were able to overcome the U-turn, still make it to the map before Aparna and Ishwar, and then are not going to be that happy with you. They're going to be like, I'm taking that. No more consideration. No holds barred. It's kind of as soon as someone decides to attack you, you don't need to play nice anymore. Kind of in strategy games, as soon as you have a loyalty to somebody and then you hear that they're saying your name. Oh, okay. They're saying my name. I don't need to have any loyalty to you anymore. Right. I can go and I can be as cutthroat as I want to. And so it's kind of if they know that Will and James have the potential of maybe making it through still, I would probably just take the known shot.
Yeah. I mean, it can cause such unnecessary drama going into the last 2 legs of the race, where instead of focusing on the race, you're focusing on, well, what are they going to do to screw us up because we messed with them? and yeah,
exactly. I feel like you want to have good blood at the last couple of legs, just because you don't like any little thing might send you out of the game. Oh, sorry, I already read that.
Who should Gary and D'Angelo who should they have U-turned? So you're probably saying Aparna and Eswar, I would think.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like I can understand you're thinking Hung and Chi is who you would maybe do. And I can see that argument as well. Like we'd probably have a discussion about it at the road, the U-turn sign. I mean, and I could get behind doing Hung and Chi because I don't feel as though they would retaliate. I think that they are so kind that they would forgive really easily, and they don't really seem to be vindictive. So they would be somebody that if they came back, it wouldn't be as bad as Will and James coming back, just because the level of like, oh, it's okay. Like they'd be like, oh, that sucks, but like we're still here. Like we know you did what you had to do. Like they'd be rational and reasonable about it, and they're a strong team. So if you did get them out, that would have been pretty good too. So
it would have been interesting if Gary and D'Angelo decided not to use the U-turn when they got there and just said, well, we're in the front, we don't need to use it, because I would assume Riley and Madison would still U-turn, but then there would have still been then an open U-turn at that point.
Well, I guess they're ensuring their own safety.
Yeah. I mean, I get why they did, but do you think?
Laura says, do you think the U-turns are too easily used? Should they be limited to perhaps the first 3 legs where there are so many other teams to choose from, or best at the end? I mean, I'm not. Okay, one thing I have to say is thank you, CBS, for putting back the U-turn where it's supposed to be at the end of the first task. Because for, I think, a couple seasons, they had it before they did any of the tasks. They would decide whether they're U-turning someone. Then it wasn't really a U-turn anymore, because the U-turn is like you go to one and no, you got to turn around and go back and do the other task. Not like, oh, I see 2 tasks in front of me. You're doing both of them. Different thing. So I'm happy that they changed the U-turn to make sense again. But I don't know how to make it work better.
Yeah, I think that if they're going to do it before, they need to do, instead of it being you do both tasks, they force a team to do one of the 2 tasks. Like they pick the task for another team, or at a roadblock.
Haven't they?
Yeah, or at a roadblock, they pick who's doing the roadblock from another team, right? Whereas, I agree with you. I like seeing the U-turn at the end after the first detour is done. They go to it and they go, oh God, now we got to go do the other one. Because, I don't know, it changes their mentality in the race. Like you get deflated a little bit by it. And, that's important though, because that's the whole point of it. Like not to be able to mentally prepare and go, oh, we've been U-turned, so now we know we have to do 2 tasks.
Hi, how are you? We're kind of getting to the end of this recap update. We are going through next week's survey that Phil has created. But thank you, obviously, for joining us on this live. Do you have any thoughts about this episode? And if you have any thoughts about any of the questions that we're going to go through right now?
Next question was, do you feel the top 4 teams are the most deserving to still be racing?
I think that they are definitely the most deserving teams to be racing. Yeah, they're all exchanging first place multiple times. Did Gary and D'Angelo only got it that one time?
Yeah, just the once.
Everybody there has at least been there first place. So if you've been to the mat first place, you deserve to be in the final 4. Yeah, and first place when competitive teams were still in there. Did anybody, can you think off the top of your head, did anybody that's already left the game won a leg and then they still went home? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think this time the final 4 is all the winners. I don't think any of the other teams won.
Because, definitely not the first
team. Leo and Alana win a leg?
Did they? Or was it like a second? I don't remember. Dolores, remember if Leo and Alana won a leg? Dolores agrees with us. Me too. Glad they changed it. Yeah, it was so bad. I was just like, it takes the drama out of like, oh man, we finished that task. Jay, oh man.
Yeah, that's that, you know, and then you see that feeling. Like, that's great TV.
I don't know why they thought that would have been a better switch up.
No.
Didn't get it.
And then the last question is, which team do you think will be the last to be eliminated? Which we've sort of touched on there. I think we're both sort of thinking Gary and D'Angelo.
Yeah, I do think Gary and D'Angelo, especially because unbeknownst to them, all the other three teams are kind of against them. So
yeah,
not that they will do anything to sabotage, but they won't do anything to facilitate the ease of them getting to the next level. So I think that their ship might have sailed, you know? I think it's time.
Yeah.
And then
but who knows? They may dominate this next leg, and they might not be able to do anything about it. So they are a strong team.
But the task looks kind of messy. Like, I don't know what's happening, but I don't know if Gary and D'Angelo's relationship can handle a high stress, messy, intricate, detail oriented, physically intensive task. I just don't know if their relationship in a foreign country. I just don't
in a foreign country. Yes,
if they can handle it. To be honest, I think they're great. I think they've been doing exceptionally well, better than I was giving them credit for. 100%. I just don't know. This leg just looks so messy. That's all I wrote. It's messy. I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome it. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. Anything else about this episode?
I think it was great TV. Actually, it was kind of nice to see Cambodia. A lot of the times when they go to Cambodia, I don't want to say rougher, but there's the locations aren't always the same as what we saw. And I thought that it looked really nice. A lot of the places that they went to. Mm-hmm. I'm excited. Where do they go next? I missed what country they go to next. Japan?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry. If you guys know in the chat in this next couple minutes, let us know if you know where they're traveling to next. And Phil, do you have anything going on that you want us to support you in?
No, I've decided to keep the mustache, but that's over now. But I'm going to keep it for a little bit and grow a beard and turn into Santa. But no, I think things are going good. If any of our listeners want a phone call from Santa, a Zoom call or anything like that, let us know. Reach out to me at Reality Phil's on Twitter. We can get you in contact with Santa, and he can talk to your kids over Zoom. It's actually quite a good rate, and definitely good to see Santa instead of going to the mall and having to worry about the mask. You get a half an hour phone call with Santa.
You're onto something here, definitely. And how many Twitter followers do you have now?
12. Oh my gosh, I made it to the end of the season. I'm there. So let's keep that going. And maybe by the very end of the season, maybe I'll double the goal to 20.
20! Don't worry,
never gonna happen.
My Reality Realness one, I haven't worked on it. I know. It's just, there's a lot of social media things there's a lot when it comes to all the requirements of a channel and then my own personal stuff. So I'm sorry that I'm not as active as I could be to be building Twitter, but I think I only have 32 Twitter followers on my Reality Realness one. I have a few thousand though on my regular one, but yeah, so don't feel discouraged.
Well, I'm okay. What's important to me right now is we hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube.
Absolutely.
For Reality Realness.
And
I want to see that.
Subscribe over there. Subscribe, please. Ring that bell if you like what we're talking about and you want to be informed and notified when we go live. We go live pretty much every day talking about something. If you like this video, please like it. Please fill out the survey for us because Phil puts in a lot of work into it, and it's also really fun to hear what you guys are thinking and discussing it at the beginning of every episode. And lastly, separate from The Amazing Race, I am playing in an online reality game of Big Brother. If you want to see what my journey is like, it's an all-star season. It's going to be 100 days. Oh my gosh, I thought it was only 85 and I thought that was long, but it's gonna be 100 days. Follow along. I'm gonna put the link in the description box below a little bit later. I have forgot to do that now. And then also Nick and Lindsay, who are friends of Reality Realness, are going to be covering weekly and doing the exit interviews. So you can follow along with just them. You can follow along on the daily videos of what the happenings are within the house and the different results for different competitions, etc. So yeah, support. I'm going back for my second time to see if I can stay winner. Winner stays winner. Will I be the 2-time winner? Who knows? Hopefully so. So please follow us on Reality Realness with 3 S's. Thanks, guys.